Alrighty, hey there friends. Welcome back to Hawkeye Speaks. Gonna do part 2 of debunking holistic management. Why holistic management doesn't work. And why cows destroy the environment. No, not really about that part. So the gist of it is that holistic management is not working in New Mexico. Look at this severe desertification right here. This is just as bad as it gets. And the problem is that the solutions work. The solutions completely work. So we need to move beyond asking that question anymore. We've got to figure out what are the real problems in between us and implementing the solutions. Okay. When I said in the last talk that the herds of cattle are not available, well, they're not. They're presently not available, but maybe if you rounded up every cow out of the Taos Valley over there and you brought them out here as a herd. But number one, why would you do that? Why would anyone want to do that to their poor cattle? And how would you even do that? I mean, one of our core principles that we discussed is building the herd. Building the herd, building them up for the job. Selecting phenotype over genotype. Culling the bad apples and getting them used to dealing with the terrain that we're working with. And then as you can see, there's no forage here. They would obviously have to be fed right here. And then we could see about, as I was saying, is about every other year we have a nice boom of some grasses, but not much, not necessarily enough to feed even a few head of cattle, much less a herd of 500,000 pound per acre that could really have the impact necessary to trample a good deal of the sage. I mean, you can see that quite a bit of the sage is already kind of died, but any of it, it's so woody and crisp that herds could stamp it right down pretty easily. So why though? Why in the world would anyone want to do that? What's the incentive? And that's what we really got to talk about. It's what we really got to think about. So we touched on the issue of overpopulation. And I heard a new term, I hope I get this right, the natalist, which would be the idea that people shouldn't have kids. Of course, associated with the concept of overpopulation. So the earth is most certainly not overpopulated if you look at it from where I'm standing right here. In fact, there's no one around. I've got a neighbor right behind me over there, and other than the two of us, he's got a wife and kids living with him there, and we got a couple more people out here. But as you can see, there's nothing but wide open space, and this is actually what a lot of the world looks like. And yes, we're all well aware that people cram into cities like sardines, and overpopulation, it's overcrowding. It is a very real thing in those areas. And yes, we're all aware that there's also areas of the world, such as Bangladesh, where people are determinately, trapped there in a way. There's so many people, there's no way they could even move outside of this compacted zone. And that is something that can happen with any organism as it grows up against the food wall and the space, the confinements of space. But anyway, see, there's certainly no overpopulation out here. But why do the people believe that? Well, we maybe need to focus on the larger pictures, because in my mind, the idea that humans are a cancer on the earth and that all humans should be removed in a way, this is kind of this ideology is an anti-humanist agenda. It's hopefully it's not an agenda for everyone, and it's just an idea that could be easily dismissed if we were more well informed. But it doesn't serve the purpose. It serves also the purpose of demonizing meat eating, which is another big issue. But fortunately, friends, also as I was saying, there is a huge carnivore movement emerging right now amongst alternative health practitioners And people that are just being health conscious have had poor results with vegan diets. And that is a big step in the right direction that I believe we should be utilizing and working together with each other. And then that's where I want to jump off right now and say that none of the work that I'm doing here is to diminish Savory's work. In my mind, Savory already won the battle. It's already done. We already know that it works, and the book's amazing, and he's continued working on this stuff for 50 years, longer than I've been alive, you know. But also, we have to consider that we need to diversify in the movement itself and really spread the message out. And the question that I want to ask is why is Savory's holistic management? Let's separate out the way that we actually work with the cattle, which is kind of what I was doing in the last talk, and saying, well, Alejandro Carrillo obviously has learned from Savory, but he's got it down pretty good as far as how to actually really reverse desertification in severely desertified environments. And of course, Savory wrote the book and has the recipe, but let's separate it out and say Savory's holistic management that's talking about large-scale climate mitigation through sequestering carbon and building soil health, doing what we can to end the problem of oxidation so that succession is always moving backwards. So why is that not the same thing as the Gaia Theory? Why is it not the same thing as Schauberger's forestry work? Now, I mentioned Schauberger, and to many people his name is still new or unknown, and he is best known for the waterworks, But truly, Schauberger was a forester, and that was what he was most concerned with. I mean, he was intrigued with these anomalous properties and amazing properties of water. And then he became also intrigued and amazed, of course, and worked thoroughly as much as he could through these ideas of implosion energy and this natural force in nature as opposed to explosive energy. Okay? But really he came from a family of foresters, and he was a forester. And when it came to ecology, ecological understanding, that was what he saw happening, was that forests are critical to gaining this full hydrological cycle and healthy forests. So, but this was, long before our modern understanding of soil health. And, why isn't Schauberger's work also, and James Lovelock's and Lynn Margulis' Gaia Theory and Allan Savory's holistic management also the same thing as Elaine Ingham's and now Matt Power's soil food web, And why is it also not the same thing as Bill Mollison's permaculture? So obviously, what I'm saying is that they are the same thing. This is all the same thing. And this is also why I have been endeavoring to come up with a good term and some other ways to speak about this. One of the ideas that I'm working on is called weave the ground. We weave it back together. This idea of moving the succession forward. That's one channel I'm working on getting going once I get some other voices involved. And then this other new idea is called endogenous ecology, which is my new term. Because what I realized is that there's actually not much of an understanding of ecology, certainly among the public, but even amongst scholars and scientists. The idea of Gaia Theory is either dismissed or it is spoken of in the way that Margulis and Lovelock were concerned would happen, was just like Gaia, the goddess, the living planet, which that's great. It's great to have reverence for our Mother Earth, but Gaia Theory is serious science. So again, why isn't Gaia Theory and Allan Savory's holistic management the same thing? Well, it is. It is. And I touched on this for just a second in the last chat, that Allan Savory talks about oxidation, that the grasses oxidize in the sun and they die out. That the tool of rest does not work in a brittle environment. That's a big principle that I didn't discuss in the last talk, but is critical to the understanding. And Allan Savory, he says it well, but it's time that we need to take this message into all the corners, into these health podcasts that are speaking about light and health, the circadian rhythms, the deuterium depleted diets. There's the space is really rich right now, and it would be really sad to see us not capitalize on that, because I'm serious about it, that what I want to see is the grasslands come back out here. I'm not doing this to get a job podcasting, though I would like a job teaching and traveling and speaking. It would be wonderful, and hopefully that'll come when the time is right. But truly what I want is to see a healthier earth, and is to see a place where our children could go on living and thriving. And I know that it is possible to completely reverse desertification, just as Allan Savory talks about, because I've done it. I've done it even without the herd of cattle. We can artificially stimulate the process out here, and it helps to bring in a load or two of manure. But it's about building soil health in the mulch, and maintaining a positive trajectory in your ecosystem and soil health. And as you may have noticed, or I'll show you in other videos, or you can see in my other videos, that I have grown a forest around my house out here. And my house is located right there behind me. Let's see. And this is the environment that we're in. Pure sagebrush ocean out here. The water is 700-800 feet down, and so my neighbor and I, we don't have wells. We just have water catchment off the roof, and then we haul when we have to. Yeah, there's the big boy cat. He's always hanging in the back. Wait for him to catch up. Come on, bud. I've got 5 cats with me out here today. I believe we've got all 5 of them. Okay, but in any case, you can see what I'm talking about. It's no lie that there is no soil health out here. There's no water. There's no infrastructure for that. So when you see that I do have a pretty mature forest, many of the trees have been there 20 years now, and a few of the new ones have been there 10 years, So they're well established. And I actually have a few new fruit trees that have only been there about 2 years now. Doing great. And yes, so I also, one of the things that happened for me around the same time that I got turned on to Savory's work, and I stumbled across his book, I think this was in 2019. I first started hearing about him in 2017, 2018, and then I'd happened to stumble upon his book in a thrift store, and then I read it in 2019, and it was life-changing for me. An absolute life-changing experience to gain so much knowledge about, as I say, ecology, how these arid ecological systems work, because I'd already been living out here, as I just said, for over 15 years at that point, and I've been seeing this trajectory of desertification happen the entire time. I've been seeing less and less animals out here, less and less birds of prey, less and less insects, of course, by many, many fold. And also seeing the ability for the land to hold water disappear, along with you could see it, but I didn't know how to quantify that yet. So the other thing that was happening is that because I had fenced off a couple little areas and had built some swales on my property, I happened to have some places where the native grasses were coming back. And, you can see this grandma grass right here, just barely hanging on. This is already gone right there. And we also see out here these cryptobiotic circles. And it's barely hanging on out here. You can see there's not much grass at all out here. So we even have a real lack of latent seed bed here, unfortunately. But there is this grandma grass. Here's some more right here. It's just barely. This is it. It's not going to last much longer, But this is a very of course, many people know the beautiful western blue grama grass and that whole family. Beautiful, strong grasses. But anyway, I had some areas around the property that were becoming lush, fertile grasslands, even with diverse species, because of bringing in various stuff. You know, been doing the gardening the whole time, a little bit here and there. And yeah, so I could see the difference. And then after I read the book, I did a test plot where I pulled out about 75% of the sagebrush on a strip through my property, and then I put down some compost, a little bit, about a quarter inch, half inch of composted, some actual kind of composty stuff of leaves, you know, and greens and browns, and then some other was just composted sawdust, which I think was pretty well fungally dominant because you could see the hyphae in it. But I'm telling you, just a thin sprinkling. And then I put some straw and grasses, some kind of mulched over it, not very thick, you know. It's important how much goes down of the mulch, because too thick is actually not beneficial. And then also with the thin layer, it's critical to net it for the wind, which what I did is put down sticks and the sagebrush that I had pulled up. And lo and behold, I've got a grassland over there. It's a strip. And I'll show it to you in another video. But I know that it's possible to just like have an entirely different reality out here pretty easily. Okay? So, again, back to the beginning, why in the world would someone with a herd of cattle want to bring them out here? Well, we need to do that first step of holistic management, which is forming groups based on our shared common values and defining a goal, a holistic goal. And the goal in this case, if we could get a group together out here, is to bring diversity back and soil, you know, soil health, ground covering, and ecosystem resiliency. So it just is going to take some people coming together, you know, at the bottom level. At the bottom, we need to really do it somewhere in America. Alejandro Carrillo's doing it down there in Mexico, but yeah, we need to show that it can happen up here, and it may take a few millions of dollars, because that's the kind of money that we're dealing with these days around here. And it seems like $100,000 is nothing these days. It would be a fortune to me, but you know, of course, inflation has driven the dollar so far into the ground, and that's the other thing that we need to connect with young people about educating around broader issues. You know, step back from the how exactly to work with the cattle. That part's not too complicated, you know, but let's tie holistic management more together with Gaia Theory and say, hey, if you're into the environment, or even if you're not, actually what I'm saying with this endogenous ecology and this idea that I'm putting out there, this radical idea, is that the fundamental principles of nature, principles as we understand them, should be the basis of science and not the other way around. Meaning that I don't want to live in a world where the science defines nature. That obviously I think doesn't work. That we need to be employing the tool of observation. As you can see, I'm showing you right here in front of me exactly what's going on. And if you know anything about soil health and this picture of desertification, you can see it right along with me. We can see that there's no ground cover. We can see that there's no, I mean, you would even be able to see some tracks. I mean, here's is that a set of tracks? That could be a dog right there. But maybe that's like a 10-year-old elk track, one singular one. And I was walking out to the west just a couple days ago, and I did see that an elk looked like it was just running solo, you know, compared to the old herds. I used to have a little house over there across the way that I rented for fun, and I would drive out there, four-wheel out there across these little roads that go out there. And in the early mornings, I would see these herds of elk, like 300-400 head, big old herds of elk. And you don't see them out here anymore, unfortunately, you know. But it is possible, and this is what we want to really emphasize, that being pro-life is good. Life is good. Life creates life. You know, that if we allow the earth to become a desert, we all die. That's what I was saying about overpopulation in New Mexico. That, yeah, we couldn't. New Mexico currently is overpopulated by that standard, that there's not enough food here being produced here to support the people that are here. So in that sense, yeah, it's already overpopulated. But as I was saying at the opening of the video, I mean, look around. Obviously, it's not overpopulated, right? And that's kind of another thing too, that I've been meaning to try and talk with anyone that I can about tying this other picture of, say, an earthship, like a sustainable building that's actually fun to live in. Young people want to go out and visit it, and having more buildings like that and little groupings, homesteads that are out on open rangeland, you know, way out in the middle of nowhere, so that people can also comfortably go out and work with the herd of cattle, and don't always have to drag their camp around. You know, it's really cool to see, like, what Alder Spring Ranch is doing up there. I forget that gentleman's name at the moment, but you know, they're doing it. They're working with the cattle out there, but we can also do it comfortably. I mean, think of all the van lifers out there. You kind of, I myself have done a bit of RVing, and I had one of these cab over campers on the back of the Dodge. It's just another example of how you could have mobile units that we can live in while we're hanging out with the cattle, and we don't have to be just on the horse with the bedroll anymore. I mean, we can utilize technology a little bit here and have a pretty good experience while we're working with cattle out in a zone like this. I mean, the biggest downfall that you see, as I'm trying to share with you friends, is that there's no one around. Because, you know, community's all right. Community's not so bad. Hanging out with other folks, sharing meals together, and playing music with one another. To me, that's where it's at. And having a healthy earth, having food that's being produced right around us, and having effective water cycling. Because that's another thing too. My property not only catches and holds every single drop of water that comes out of the sky and lands on the property, but I'm also funneling water off of the road for about at least a half a mile towards my house. And that is it shows you what's possible, that we don't need to lose a single drop of that precious rain that we do get so few times in the year, because we can conserve every bit of it. And again, that's permaculture right there. So Bill Mollison, Lynn Margulis, James Lovelock, Victor Schauberger, they're all passed away now, of course. You know, and Savory, bless your heart, brother. You're getting old, and I hope you live to be 110. But we also have got to figure out who's going to pick up the torch. And you know, it's most certainly not going to be me. I mean, it is me, but I'm not that popular. You know, we need more young people that are good social media influencers and popular folks that can really get the message out there. And again, I mean, Max Gullhane, this guy's really sharp. Sara Pugh, of course, there's Anthony Chaffee, sorry, I don't know his last name correctly. And then, you know, Paul Saladino, Ken Berry, Sean Baker. These guys have big followings. I think I saw Ken Berry showed on his channel that he's got 3 million followers. And the brother eats some patties from McDonald's sometimes when he gets hungry, you know, and that's like what we got to do, because we don't have good grass-fed meat available from little small market stores in the communities. And that's, again, it's another aspect we need to be thinking about focusing a bit more on, is the infrastructure. What exactly do we need to have present in the community to pull this work off? And also, Allan Savory sharing his article this morning about government. Government is the problem. Well, it is. It is the problem, but also this anti-human overpopulation agenda, it comes out of this globalism, world domination plan for the new world order, which is no joke. It's a real thing, and I'm doing, as I said, I'm working on this endogenous ecology book right now and a paper. Should probably take me a few years to get it done, but for this opening, kind of going back through the history, I'm rereading John Taylor Gatto's books, or at least this underground history of American education. And then I was rewatching some of James Corbett's documentaries, and then for the first time, I'm reading G. Edward Griffin's classic Creature from Jekyll Island. And wow, you want to put the hammer the nail on the head with how it all goes down. That's it right there. We got to think about decentralized banking and ways to share currency that are going to actually benefit this type of work instead of getting everyone just pitted against each other. And sorry to have to say that it's that big, but it is. We can't be having all the young people of the world raised up to thinking that they should just catch the next best investment in the markets. When I was young, being a stock trader was like being a lawyer. You were not that popular. It wasn't considered to be that cool. And now it just seems like what everybody does. And also this, looking at the question of how did we get to the point of objectifying nature and treating nature like just a dead resource to be had? Well, it gets blamed on the patriarchy and the capitalism and stuff. But, as I had said in the last video, and as Allan Savory teaches us, you set a group of people down with even the most disparate views, and you'll find that everyone generally actually cares about the environment. That there's very few, if any, and in fact the people that actually would want to just plain old destroy their environment, they're not right-wingers, they're psychopaths. And there's a variety of psychopaths on any side of the field, but they're actually not making up any majority. In general, it's everyone that wants to have a better environment. If you actually talked about it and how to get there. And so again, just removing humans from the land is not going to bring any herds back out here. It would take not an amount of biological time, it would take geological time again. And with the time that we do have on this earth, and with the time that these grandma grasses right here in front of me have left, we can turn things around, and we can have a good time doing it. We can get out here and work cattle and see the difference happen. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you friends here in part 2 of debunking holistic management. Now, I'm calling that as joking in a way, but also we got to talk about why it doesn't work. Why aren't we working it? Huh, kiddos? Ecology, the interdependency of organisms. Aldo Leopold, every tool can be used as a benefit or detriment to the environment. And of course, there's a list of famous conservation ecologists that I'm not even familiar with, really, that of course have been talking about this stuff for a long, long time. So, friends, holistic management, Gaia Theory, permaculture, forestry, healthy wetlands, healthy rainforests, it's all part of the same picture. Clean oceans, it's all part of the same picture. And yes, it is how we mitigate the climate. We stabilize the climate by sequestering carbon into the soil. Dr. Christine Jones, the liquid carbon pathway, getting farmers paid for putting carbon in the ground. She worked on that for a long, long, long time. And then it finally became government sponsored in 2018, I believe. Hopefully that program is working out well for some people. But it's so controversial right now. And it's time again that we bring that more into the light. And how can we keep it domestic and actually have it work out in a way that's going to benefit our future generations? All right, so I hope you caught, if you did catch the last video, you may have saw in the description that I added one more Alejandro Carrillo principle, which was also, of course, a Savory principle. Savory talked about this, which is that timing is everything. You know, the time of year, this right now would be a beautiful time to run a big old herd through here. But of course, as you can see, there's nothing for them to eat. We would have to get out here, and it wouldn't be that tough, really. We could also commission used military vehicles. They're so cheap around here. Get a big old 5-ton, 10-ton trucks, and put water on the back and haul even 2 to 3 big old round bales, even 4 big old round bales out here on just a couple of skinny wheels, or on rollers that smash some of the sage down themselves. But in any case, you're going to have to bale graze to some extent. And bale grazing is, you got to take the bale where we want the herd to get the herd effect, to get the program going. And that's why I advocate that there is a way to artificially stimulate it up front, but you'd have to have the incentive to begin with. So I'm going to close out the talk by saying that a lot of people, including the government management systems, the way that they work is to view the land the way that it is. Instead of viewing the land as the way that we want it to be, which is a big difference. And that's, when we're talking about the holistic goal, it's being 5 years instead of 5 minutes out in the future. That's exactly what we're talking about, is that we can, and hopefully we should, right? Hopefully we should. This is, again, how to talk to young people about it. We should be thinking about how we want the land to look, and that then automatically indicates that, oh, there's a difference. How do we make the difference happen? Because just not enough people are tuned into basic ecology like that. That's what Allan Savory's holistic management is basic ecology. That's what Gaia Theory is. That's what Elaine Ingham's soil food web is. And it's time to just bring them all together into one thing, which would be endogenous ecology, or just ecology 101 for all grade levels. It is required by the U.S. Constitution that everyone take this remedial course, because we all have a right to health, happiness, and how does it go? In the pursuit of happiness and access to water. All right, but anyway, see what I'm getting at. We got to view the land as the way that we want it to be, and see that there's a difference. And as soon as we can do that on a large scale, then we can get the energy behind running some cattle out here, or stimulating it in the foreground. Alrighty, in any case, over and out. 5 cats on the desertifying land. Hope you're all doing well today.